This is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. For those of you who've been with me before, you'll see that I've got a new smiling photo of me. This is the official cover. The one you saw before was the mock-up. So this is the new me on the new cover of Show and Tell. And we're going to be talking today about storyline number 2, which we're going to call the explanation. The simple idea that we're going to talk about today is this. When we want to change our audience's ability to do something, the storyline that we use is going to be an explanation. Taking a half step back into a little bit of review, where do these storyline ideas come from? As we remember that in order to make an extraordinary presentation, 3 simple rules. Number 1, tell the truth. Number 2, tell it with a story. And number 3, tell that story with pictures. Touching on truth very quickly, we will remember that there are different kinds of truth. There's the truth that comes out of the data, and that's what we talked about in our last session, where we talked about making a report. Then there is the truth that lies in our head, kind of the facts and the things that we know, the abilities that we have, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And then in a future session we'll start to talk about the truths that exist in the heart. So today we're going to be focusing on how to begin to move people's head. Rule number 2, of course, we're going to tell a story. Why are we going to do that? Because successful presentations are always built on clear storylines. As we know, there's always a through line from the beginning to the end. It is not endless, it is not confusing, and it is not random. We intentionally build storylines to guide ourselves and our audience, because what we want to do is take something that is enormously very complex and force it through the idea of a storyline into a single linear thought that we are able to capture. And the idea here is we can tame complexity long enough to make it tolerable if we use a storyline. And I want to give you an example of exactly what I mean. So let's say that I told you to make this. Okay, go tie that knot. Well, how would you even do that? So let's back up and see where a storyline comes in. Let's take a little example. And let's say that this is us. We're on the front of a boat, and we've got our little colleague along who's guiding the boat, and the boat's moving along in this direction, and here's the post that we need to hook to, and we've got a rope lying right here. Well, we might need to tie a knot in that rope. So how would we do that? Well, the first thing that we might do is we'd take that rope and we'd just loop it around like this. We'd call this part the tree, we'd make a loop which is a hole, and we're going to call the end of the rope our rabbit. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that rabbit and have him come out of the hole. We're going to guide that rabbit right around the tree. We're going to take that rabbit and put him back down in the hole from whence he came. And then we're going to take and pull that rabbit tight. And now we're going to have something that is called a bowline. Well, why would we need that? Because now we have a new ability. We took what was a pile of rope, and all of a sudden we tied it very quickly into this bowline, and now we have a way to throw it around that post and stop our boat. We have an ability, something that we did not have before. What we just went through was a storyline. We had a need, we took a series of steps, each one increasing a little bit in complexity until we had a new ability that we built, step by step. That's what a storyline can do for us. 90% of all presentations, heck, let's be generous, let's call it 100% of all presentations can be made with just 4 storylines. Last time we talked about things like team status meetings and financial updates and quarterly reports and project reviews, all of which we created using the report storyline. Today we're going to focus on this area right here, things like academic papers. Oh, we're presenting some new academic thinking. Or it's a cooking show. We want to show someone how to make something. Or we're going to lead a class lecture where we're going to instruct people on some new knowledge or ability. Yes, which storyline are we going to use? This is where our explanation comes in today. Our report we reviewed last week looks like this. We take people, we add new information. Our explanation is a little different because, as we're going to see today, our explanation takes us up step by step from a beginning point to an increased ability. As we see in the next time we meet, the pitch jumps us over a problem, and the drama breaks our heart and then mends it. The explanation is our storyline for today. We're going to use the Puma. The Puma, of course, our presentation's underlying message architecture. Sometimes people call this an outline, but we're going to focus on calling it a Puma. The idea being the head is the main idea, the spine is the main story structure, The legs become all of our supporting anecdotes, and we give one last swish of the tail as we conclude our presentation. We use the Puma because there are 4 ways that we can change an audience. Last week we focused on changing our audience's information, and we used the report. This time we're going to focus on something else, changing our audience's knowledge or ability. So which storyline are we going to use that? Well, it's the storyline that climbs. Our Puma, our outline ascends from some knowledge up to greater knowledge and ability. Here we go. Storyline number 2, the explanation. Our Puma ascends. Here's what an explanation is really all about. An explanation is a way to share knowledge. We show someone how. With an explanation, we actually change our audience's abilities. We know this, explanations are everywhere. Most presentations that take place in a conference or in a classroom or a courtroom are designed to change our audience's knowledge. So whenever we're giving a training course, when we're presenting a paper, we're introducing a new process, perhaps we're leading a self-help seminar, maybe we're doing litigation in a trial environment, maybe we're offering sales training. Any one of these is we're going to take our audience from some ability to a higher level of ability, and we'll do it step by step. Now, any explanation is going to take us to a new level by definition. We start here and we end up here. It's kind of like a staircase. Step by step, we make our way up. But any isn't good enough for us. We want to focus on great explanations. So what we're going to do is not just be a staircase, we're actually going to be like an escalator. We are going to use a storyline that is so seamless in helping someone move up the stairs that, like an escalator, they start here, they've moved to the top before they even knew that they were moving. That's how good our explanations are going to be. Our really good sort of escalator-like explanations work well in 3 ways. We always start at the base. We start down here at the bottom. And what we're going to understand is that each step that we're going to take is small. We're going to kind of munch our way along. Information comes in bite-sized pieces, and we don't move on until we've had time to chew each one. Another way of saying that, point 2, is each step leads directly to the next. We start here, it moves us to here, it moves us to here. We don't make a big jump from here to here. We make sure every step we follow along the way. And number 3, each one of those steps is marked. Signposted is the fancy word for it, so that at any point if we were to take a pause, we would know exactly where we'd been, see exactly where we are, and know exactly where we're going. Those are the 3 really distinct attributes of a good explanation. Most good explanations follow this simple step-by-step storyline. We begin here, and the first thing we do is we lay out the lay of the land. We get kind of an overview of the landscape, conceptually, that we're sitting in. Where are we now? What's going on around us? Then step number 2 is we say, okay, we're here, but we want to be here, so let's make a little roadmap that guides us through that to help us reach that. And then what we're going to do is plot a series of steps. Well, on our roadmap, our first step was this one. We understand that, and then we do a little check-in. Do we all agree that we've made a good first step? And then we do if we agree, we take our next step, the next part along the roadmap, and we continue this process until we get to the last step, and we take a look back and say, do we still know where we are? Come in with a little checkpoint. Yes, we do. And we say, great. At the top of the stairs, we've arrived. We started here. We took our step by step by step by step, and we made it to the destination that we agreed on at the beginning. Isn't that lovely? That's the way an explanation should work. Let me give you just a couple of three quick little examples of good explanations. They all follow that storyline we just mapped out, the stairs. Lay of the land, here's one. Explanation number 1, how to cook a meal for many people. For any of you in the United States, we know that just this past weekend was Thanksgiving. So the lay of the land in this particular case was you've got a house to feed, a whole bunch of people coming over this Thanksgiving. That's the lay of the land. The roadmap. What plan are we going to do? Well, we'll have an appetizer, a salad, a main course, dessert, coffee perhaps. What are the steps that we're going to take to do those? Well, we'll preheat the oven to 250. We'll prepare the stuffing. We'll boil the potatoes, etc. And our final destination, when we've done all of those things, is the table is set, guests are arriving, and we're going to have a wonderful meal. That's an explanation for how to cook a meal for many people. Here's one that I'm pretty familiar with. trying to become even more familiar with, the truth about writing a book. What's the lay of the land? Why do we even start? Well, there's this idea that we've had in mind that's been rattling around for years. So what's our roadmap? Okay, well, we're going to outline our idea, then we're going to write, then we're going to edit, then we're going to publish, then we're going to promote. That's our roadmap. So what are the steps? Okay, well, put your fingers on the keyboard and make them move. Start tapping, then do it again, then do it again. Repeat until book is done. And what's our final destination? New York Times bestseller #1. Wouldn't that be awesome? How do we get from here to here? Follow these steps. And I want to show that this explanation model can be used to explain anything, no matter how complex it is. Let's even talk about introducing quantum mechanics. The lay of the land. What's that? Well, the universe is a fascinating mystery. How in the heck does this work? The roadmap in this case is going to be composed of some energy, some mass, some light. They'll lead the way. What steps are we going to take? Well, the steps will be, imagine a man on a train who's bouncing a ball, and the train starts to move, and the ball looks like it's moving. Ah, interesting. We add on the steps, and what will happen, our destination will be a much deeper appreciation of the near magic of the world around us. So there we have 3 very quick examples of explanations, each one of which follows the same step-by-step model to be explained. So let's take a few minutes and do a serious one now. Let's go in depth. I want to take you through, as we've been doing, a real-world explanation example project that I worked on. This one is about accounting. There's a lot of words here, so I'm just going to summarize for you with pictures. Here's us. Here's the objective. We're the American Accounting Association, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and working with the United States Department of the Treasury. And our objective is this. We need people to re-understand what we mean by the term accounting. Why? Because studies have shown us that accounting, as important as it is typically understood as bean counting. And a lot of really bad words are associated with it. It's boring. It's narrow. It's tedious. Accountants are no people. They rule by fear. It's all about debits and credits. It's mundane. It's manipulative. It can be evil. Oh my gosh. Look at the poor world the accountants are living in. What we want to do is emphasize the more powerful words that are also associated with accounting, that accountants in reality play a much more critical role of actually balancing the entire global economy. They're influential. They make decision useful information. They're strategic. There should be good communicators. Being an accountant is all about wealth creation. How? Through measurement and trust, making good judgments, effective problem solving, etc. The objective for those organizations, we need to shift the balance of how accounting is perceived from bean counting to the accountability of balancing the economy. So what happened was those organizations got together, did a multi-year study, wrote a book called the Pathways Commission, 136 pages long. It's talking about all of the things that in the accounting education should change in order to emphasize that balance. Here's our objective. We have 136 pages to present in about 15 minutes to introduce to 350 accountants and accounting educators the results of our Pathways study. We can't go through 136 pages, so we're going to explain the primary findings of our Pathways research in a presentation. And now I want to walk you through my explanation presentation. Here's what we show, here's what we tell, and here's where we sit on the storyline. Good morning. It's our pleasure to introduce you to the Pathways findings, our roadmap for the future of accounting education. Now the lay of the land. America's economic position is at risk. A decade ago, Congress looked at the future of the American education and realized that our economic position is at considerable risk due to increasing foreign expertise and competition. The good news is, we're still in the lay of the land now, we know what to do. That report concluded by recommending an increased support for education in the STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and math. We in accounting absolutely applaud that, and we believe that it's important to integrate accounting as the underpinning that allows all of that STEM-based economy to actually work. So what we've done here is we've laid the land. What are we trying to do? Our roadmap, where are we going to go? STEM over A. STEM is supported by accounting. But hey, we're accountants. We can handle the pressure. So our roadmap says, we broke down our entire educational industry around accounting and realized that there are 7 topics that we need to cover. See, we're laying out a roadmap here. 7 things we need to cover. And they're very complicated the way they interact. So what we've done in order to clarify our roadmap is we've built a simple visual destination of where we're going, the integration of all 7 of these topics into one clear map. All right, you're with me so far where we're going with this? Our first step now we're starting down the path of taking our steps. Our first step is we're going to look at the center of that model, our profession. And in particular, we're going to say in first step that accounting must believe in itself and act as a truly learned profession. And today what happens in accounting is we're broken into 3 groups: people who do research, people who do teaching, and people who do practice. But in order to integrate as a more learned profession, what we need to do is emphasize the linkages between our 3 different areas of discipline, which means strengthening the bonds that exist between us. That's step number 1. And now it's going to happen. I'm not going to take you through all the remaining steps, but for the next 5, we'll do the same thing. We'll look at where we are on the map, and we'll say, how do we take that step? And we'll move our way around each one of the steps with an example of where we are in our roadmap and what step do we need to take, cycling around each step until we reach nearly the end, which brings us to our last step, the 7th one, which was in this case about our process. The 7th and final recommendation goes right to the heart of what we're talking about, that we need to understand our own process for implementing this plan. In the past, processes have been sort of random and unstructured, but for this one, we've got a process that allows us to build. And when we've done that, and now you see where we are in our explanation, we've reached the end. We've arrived at a fully integrated view of accounting education. So please, thank you for your time. Please join us to learn more about how you can help us spread the word of Pathways. So that's what I mean by a full explanation. And you'll see that each slide that we talked about followed the roadmap that we laid out from the beginning. So our PUMA was, here's the head, Pathways, here's our spine, the lay of the land were a series of slides, our roadmap was a series of slides, our first step, all of our remaining steps to the last one, and then a final conclusion, a little swish of the tail. Let's do a quick report card for our explanation. Did we do what we said we were going to do? Did we tell a story? Yes, we did. We told a story about how to get from here up to here. Did we change our audience's knowledge or abilities? I believe we did. We've shown them some new knowledge about accounting and we've given them the ability to explain it. Is the new ability clear enough to practice and practical enough to apply? Well, I believe it is, because it's just built on that simple 7-component map. So how did we do? Well, we did really well, in fact, and I can tell you this for sure because I actually gave this presentation to those 350 accountants about a year ago. And over that remaining year, thousands of people have now given the same presentation, and acceptance of this model as the future for accounting among the accounting profession and education has grown extraordinarily. It really does work. And I want to close with a few final thoughts on things to think about as we're building an explanation. And here's the most important one. There is no such thing as a boring topic. There is only a boring presentation. Any subject, it doesn't matter. It could be about watching paint dry. Let's say this is the side of a house. Here's the window, here's the grass, here's the roof, here's the sun, and we want to paint it. You know, what could be more boring than watching paint dry? Well, until you start to explain what's going on with the benzene molecules that are within the paint and how the sun's energy is changing these bonds and making it so the paint actually dries. Any topic can be made interesting if we figure out a way to make our presentation, our explanation, exciting. Thought number 2, getting it is really the ultimate rush. And what I mean by that is, here we are. not entirely sure that we understand something. All of a sudden, whatever the idea is, becomes clear enough to where we say, wait a minute, I understand it. I get it. What actually happens is we get a flood of dopamine going straight into our brain, almost equal to what would happen if we were eating birthday cake. It is that exciting for our brain to suddenly understand something, which is why it's so critical for us as presenters to make our explanation one that people can follow and see. Third big thought, whether describing a completely new discovery or showing how to perhaps bake that little birthday cake we were just looking at, the essential explanation process remains the same, because what we do is we look at our Puma and we say we're going to start someone here, and again, step by step, additive, we're going to take them to an increased level of ability. And final thought about the explanation, if given the option, it's always preferable to deliver an explanation rather than that report. Why is that? Last time we remembered that we were talking about a report that simply added a bunch of new facts. Well, here's the thing, is that the people that are listening to us probably already know much of this, and all we're doing is just taking a lot of time to add a little bit new. That can be useful, but it's rarely very exciting. If what we can do is take people who are already knowledgeable, build an explanation of what we're trying to convey, they will be happier because they won't just get new facts. They'll also perceive themselves as having a new grasp of an ability enabled by those facts. That's what I mean by an explanation. Quickly, a little bit of homework. I'd like some of you to try it. Making an explanation is also actually a lot of fun, just the way I did with that little bowline knot example at the beginning. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to draw an explanation, Puma. Think of a simple task that you enjoy. Maybe it is baking that cake. Maybe it is how to ski. Maybe it is how to fly a plane. A simple task that you enjoy. Draw a basic visual Puma outline, explaining to someone else how you would do it. Set the lay of the land at the beginning. Take us through a roadmap. Take us through a couple of steps to show how we're going to increase our ability. And go ahead and include the head, the lay of the land in this case, the spine, which is the staircase in this case, supporting legs, the details and the facts that make each step become real, and a little swish of the tail. What did we learn by doing this? And go ahead, post your work, as usual, to the showcase. Hey, thank you all for another great lesson. This is Dan signing off from the Napkin Academy, but don't go away. Now on our new platform, you can still submit your homework. Debbie, our community manager, is going to join you right now to show you exactly how to do that, and I really encourage you, do your homework. Okay, take it away, Debbie. See you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this Napkin Academy classic video. We've made it easier than ever to share your homework. After you've completed your homework and have a JPEG or PNG file saved on your computer, come back to this course. Once you're back here, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and in the comments box, you can add a comment. I'm just going to call this one My Homework. You can also add images by clicking on the Insert Edit Image button here. In the source box, click on the file. In the Images window, click on Upload, and then click on Add Files. This is going to take you to your computer where you can search for your images. I'm just going to search for mine in Pictures, and I'm going to choose this image here. You can also add multiple images here. Click Upload. After the upload is complete, click Close. Then scroll down, and you'll see that the last image is here, and it's checked. This is the one we just uploaded. Click Insert. I suggest in the Dimensions box you change the maximum to 1200 pixels and leave the Constrained Proportions box checked. You can also add an image description here if you'd like. Click OK. You'll see that your image has been added to your comment. And now the last step, the most important one, make sure that you click the green comment button here to upload your homework to the Napkin Academy. We hope to see your homework soon.